Everybody, welcome to the Rochester Press Box. I'm Tariq Spence, filling in for Bill Pucko. Of course, joined this week by Kevin Oklobzija. Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
I'm great. How about you?
I'm doing great. Great day already. And Pat Duffy. Now, what is this jersey? Is that a Phoenix Suns jersey you have on?
That's a Charles Barkley, Thunder Dan Marley, Kevin Johnson era Phoenix shooting shirt from the best jersey manufacturer of all time, Rochester's own Champion. Come on, everybody. Go back to Champion. They make great jerseys. Grew up on them.
I always thought that Phoenix Sun team should have won a championship. But then again, I always thought the Knicks should have won a championship. And oh, by the way, that was the Jordan era. So nobody was winning championships. We'll get to the NBA in a matter of moments. I first wanted to ask you, Kevin, a bit about this change. We've had about a week to go through this in Major League Baseball. Umpires are now going to check Major League Baseball starting pitchers or pitchers in general for the sticky stuff. What are your thoughts on this as we go in for the first week?
Oh, it's been an absolute perfect transition to how to police the game. Has anything in the Rob Manfred era gone off well? I mean, eventually they usually get things right. This is a joke. I mean, Joe Girardi, the second night it's in effect, challenges and says, no, go back out there and check Max Scherzer a third time. Awesome. And like Scherzer was prepared to strip down to nothing to show, I have nothing on me. Come on, look for it, whatever. He's complaining because he was touching his hair. There has to be something in his hair. Do the umpires, are they going to bring some kind of like special gloves out because now they have to touch the pitcher's hair to make sure there's no substance in that? They have to do things with the game, but it doesn't start with the pitcher using some substance. That's not why no one can hit the ball anymore. Or yes, baseball has some real problems. It's a game of swing and miss or hit it 100 miles, and there's nothing else that happens. But I don't think starting with what the pitcher's touching the ball with is really where the game has its biggest problems.
Although I will say that was a lot of drama for a moment. I could almost see, Pat, someone actually stripping.
It gave us some entertainment that the game doesn't have anymore.
But could you actually see, Pat Duffy, somebody actually stripping down during a game to show they have no substance on them just to prove their point?
Yeah, we've all seen the documentary Slapshot. It's happened before. But I do find it funny that
documentaries.
Joe Girardi, the second night you're allowed to do this, immediately tries to take advantage of it for a competitive advantage. Like, you couldn't have waited until the moment mattered where you were going to do things to throw Scherzer off his game, right? Like, what was the point of doing it that night? He didn't really believe that he had stuff there. Either Girardi hates this rule too, and he was trying to blow it up, or he wanted to win a game that was a whatever game in the middle of late June, right? Max Scherzer's going to eat your lunch along with the rest of the Washington Nationals. Like, you're out of your mind. What did we watch? What did we watch on Tuesday night when that whole thing went down?
And they can challenge with no punishment. It took the NHL a year to figure out that if you challenge an offside or whatever, there has to be a punishment. So now there's a minor penalty. I don't know what baseball does. Taking at bat away, calling out the next time your team is while you're at bat. I don't know how they do it, but there has to be punishment. There has to be probable cause. I guess somehow there has to be some reason to check the pitcher, and punishment if nothing's found.
Do you think baseball needs to take that challenge? That's a very good point. What if there is no substance? Basically, you're accusing a player of cheating and there's no penalty to it. So that means I can accuse as many pitchers as I want going down the line because there's no penalty for me.
Which is exactly what Girardi did, right? Like, all he did was use this to throw a wrench into a game and keep the starting pitcher, who's a good starting pitcher, from doing what he's doing. Why not just leave it at the discretion of the umpires? Why is that a problem? I mean, the umpire is the one that's seeing these pitches better than anybody else is. He sees where the movement is. He sees what these guys are doing. He's looking directly at them. Leave it up to those guys to police it. And if you can't do it that way, well, then don't do it at all.
Maybe they're just using stat check or, whatever these analytics and the cameras are showing. And, okay, well, the spin rate is way high right now, so go check him right now. I don't know what they're going to do, but, it actually, what Girardi did brings me back to a John Tortorella moment when the American League went to the extra point in the overtime. So if you pulled your goalie and lost, it didn't matter. So Torts pulls his goalie against the other conference. When it was the other conference, they lose in Binghamton, and Lou Lamoriello has nothing to do with that game, loses his mind and calls a special session of the Board of Governors, General Managers Rules Committee to amend the rule immediately that if you pull your goalie in overtime and get scored on, you don't get a point at all. The other team gets the 2. So maybe that's what Girardi's doing. He's just taking a shot at the rule.
Leave it to Major League Baseball to probably change this rule again before the All-Star game. I'll just predict that right now. We'll talk Bills talk.
I hope they change it before tomorrow.
No, I don't know if that's going to happen. We'll talk Bills segment coming up next with the brand new stadium. You're watching the Rochester Press Box.
Original Bay Goodman Pizza, located on the corner of North Winton at Browncroft. There are 3 ways to get the original Bay and Goodman delivery. Go to baygoodman.com.
Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box. I'm Tariq Spence, filling in for Bill Pucko. All right, time for the Bills segment, and that means one Mr. Pat Duffy. I will ask you this about the brand new Bills Stadium. How do you feel about this stadium coming projected 2025?
I mean, look, if it was up to me, you were going to redo the stadium we have now. But Mike Catalano, who breaks the story, initially said that if they were to do it, it would cost $1 billion to redo the stadium that they have now. So you have to build something new. Fine. It's the best of the worst case scenario, because if you went downtown, you're going to kill tailgating. Prices were going to be jacked up. You were going to have a whole bunch of other issues, having to rebuild on and off ramps, things like that. So if you have to build a new stadium, the fact that it sounds like, according to the sources, they've resigned to doing it where the actual stadium is now, great. We'll take it. Just don't make it too expensive. Make it Buffalo, Western New York size, middle of the road, so my season tickets don't go from $70 a seat to $370 a seat when it opens back up.
Chances are, though, they're still going to go up considerably because somehow they have to pay for it. Where the money comes from, is there taxpayer money? There probably will be. Downtown doesn't work for me. I mean, you're right. The infrastructure downtown is horrible. You can't get out of a Sabre game right now if you're leaving with traffic, or a concert, at the arena in downtown Buffalo. Now at a stadium with 4 times as many people, and you have gridlock for hours and hours. The city downtown just couldn't handle that. So Orchard Park is fine. Many ways in and out. That works. The stadium they have now is ancient. And yes, they need an upgrade. But I'm going to point to Minnesota. And people are saying, well, how do you not put a roof on this stadium? The advantage the Vikings lost when they moved inside with the Metrodome was immense. All the pictures of the Los Angeles Rams huddled around the heaters during the playoffs in the early 70s and going toward the 1980s. And whoever they played in December, that's that snow is an advantage for the Bills. No players coming here from Alabama and Florida don't like it when they get here, but they adapt and they embrace that advantage. And I'm telling you, it's a big thing.
All right, apparently, you bring up
how many playoff games how many Super Bowls have they gone to since they've gone indoors?
Okay, but you bring up the old stadium where they were playing outdoors in Minnesota. Kevin, you know this from being there. You were only selling 20,000 tickets in a 50,000 seat stadium in December towards the end of the season.
But no team sold then except the Cowboys. I mean, all sorts of they sold fine when it was playoff time. No, it was a different era. The Twins didn't sell. The Yankees didn't sell tickets in the 70s until playoffs started. Look at the old photos and the old videos of an empty Yankee Stadium in July. So it's a changed game, but I just think, this has become part of the culture here, an outdoor Bills game, the tailgate, having fun outdoors in the snow, whatever it might be. We deal with the elements. It's an advantage the Bills need to keep, but they need to get rid of it. They need a new stadium for competitive advantage.
Well, apparently it will be open air, but the fans would be able to be in a warmer environment. I don't know if it would cover the entire fan area so they would be more comfortable in colder temperatures, but that is a part of the fan legacy of being cold, out in the elements with their players, dealing with the same sort of thing. So I don't know. It might be a little bit different when it comes to the stadium going forward. Pat, I'll give you the last word on this one. Brand new stadium, 2025. Looking forward to it or no?
No, it's going to break my heart. Like, I grew up with that stadium. I think every Bills fan, unless you're, Kevin's age, can't remember a stadium that they played in before what they're playing in now. Like I went to my first game when I was 4. My family's had season tickets since before that. I've had season tickets when I got old enough to get them. I grew up in that place, man. I could walk around that place with my eyes closed. And when they finally shut it down, like, I don't cry. I never cry. I'm going to cry when they implode that thing and I'm there watching it live.
It's because the dust will be in your eyes.
That's so sad. This is the Rochester Press Box. Like it or not, coming up next.
Here's the Press Box trivia question, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
All of these things show Josh Allen has a strive for greatness inside of him.
Falcon Around with Carl Falk. New episodes every Tuesday on Rock Sports Now.
Here's the Press Box trivia answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
Are you facing criminal charges from a DWI and feel that you never imagined it could happen to you? Contact attorneys with years of experience as prosecutors and defenders. Contact Ganguly Brothers Law today for a free consultation. You can put your trust in us. Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box. This segment of the Press Box, like it or not, is being brought to you by Ganguly Brothers Law Firm, attorneys with years of experience defending the accused. Don't go unprepared. Contact Ganguly Brothers Law today. All right, like it or not, Cole Beasley has made his statement. I'll start with you, Kevin, first, and bring Pat in. Your thoughts on the fact that, you know what, he's very upset with the union. Unvaccinated players are not being represented as hardly as they should be.
I think you should just go talk to Rasmus Ristolainen and find out what life was like with COVID. Here's a athlete in his prime for the Buffalo Sabres who at times said he wasn't sure if he'd wake up in the morning because what COVID had done to him. So I think the risks are still there. I understand Cole Beasley's stance on personal rights, and that's fine. I mean, play, and if you get sick, well, now you face the consequences. The problem is if you spread it to others who are not vaccinated. It's an issue that, we've dealt with for a year as a society. It's an issue that the NFL is grappling with now. The answers, to be honest, I don't know what they are.
Yeah. It's a tough one, Pat. I understand and I respect Cole Beasley's decision not being vaccinated. I also respect players that do get vaccinated, but this is something that could affect the team somewhere down the line. But then again, I mean, this is a debate that doesn't end, even though we've opened up as a country a little bit more.
And that's what's so interesting about the whole thing. First off, I do find it funny, right? Like, I mean, look, Cole Beasley can say what he wants to say. He has a Twitter account. They're going to put microphones in his face. The NFL should have seen something like this coming, and maybe they have ideas to try and mitigate what the consequence of a player speaking out this heavily is going to be. We haven't seen him yet. But I do find it interesting that the folks that were in the shut up and play sports crowd, all of a sudden are holding Cole Beasley up as listen to his opinion. Like, no, you can't have it both ways here, man. Like, if they're going to speak, everybody should be able to speak. Let Cole speak. That being said, whether or not it happens, whether or not it's the fault of Cole Beasley, whatever happens, if something happens on this Bills team this year with the way that they are poised to be successful, that derails this season, whether it's fair, whether it's not, whether it's because of what happened with this, whether it's not, Cole Beasley is going to be held up on the mantle as to this is the reason why it happened. And I wonder, I mean, Cole puts that statement out and says, I think it was, I'd rather die living. I think was the quote, if I'm paraphrasing correctly. Yeah. If something goes wrong, man, you got to be ready to deal with those consequences too. And when I say consequences, I mean the ideas that the folks that watch and love this team are going to have about what you did and said.
Well, it's interesting because you're wearing the Phoenix Suns jersey, and I think about the Chris Paul situation where reportedly he did get vaccinated, but still was in protocol. So this is a real sort of fluid situation where anything could happen in the NFL. 2 weeks could mean a season. We both know that. We all know that. The fact that you could lose a player or a couple of players for about a couple of weeks and it could change your entire season.
And the scary thing is the variants that are going around in different countries. They're obviously going to get here. They're going to get here. So the unvaccinated player is probably more at risk now. And that is something the NFL and team management and fans should fear, because as Pat said, this could derail a season that has great promise.
Well, we'll find out when the season comes around, as training camps will be here before you know it, and then off to a brand new season come this fall for the Buffalo Bills. A lot of high hopes. This is the Rochester Press Box. That is, of course, like it or not, unfinished business coming up next. The Press Box Stat of the Week is being brought to you by McArdle's Restaurant in Fairport. McArdle's is open 7 days a week with dining available indoors and out, takeout and delivery. Come home to McArdle's.
Came now to Eichel. He floated one. Score!
Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box. I'm Tariq Spence filling in for Bill Pucko. It's time for Unfinished Business, and Pat Duffy fires off first.
You hear it all the time from folks that don't want to watch the NBA. I like college basketball and I like March Madness because, different teams every year. With the NBA, there's only 3, 4, 5 teams that have a chance, and it's the same stars over and over again. Well, guess what? This is your NBA Finals, NBA playoffs, because it's been amazing. But those same people, those exact same people that have made that argument for years and years are now saying, well, what am I going to watch for? I've never heard of anybody. The superstars are out. These are all new teams. Look, man, do yourself a favor. Whether or not you think you like NBA basketball, if you like basketball, you're going to like NBA basketball right now. These games are amazing. I have fallen in love with Devin Booker out in Phoenix. The finish on Tuesday night, unbelievably phenomenal. And they're winning these games with nobody that you, a casual basketball fan, has ever heard of before. Trae Young, guard out in Atlanta, is awesome. He's the bad boy that you want to hate, but you want to watch what he's doing. And he's gone into opposing cities that they should have lost in twice and shut these crowds up. I've got that same late 80s, early 90s, you don't know what's going to happen kind of basketball NBA playoffs thing going on in my chest right now. And you are doing yourself a disservice if you are not going out of your way and making appointment watching for what is happening in the NBA right now.
Anybody who takes a bow at center court at Madison Square Garden is my new hero. I love I'm not a big basketball fan, but I like this NBA right now, as Duffy said, because who are these teams? Where did they come from? The point is, somebody had to become a star at some point somewhere, and for some of these guys, it's this spring. The NHL, by the way, Buffalo Sabres, you have hope. The Montreal Canadiens, when this season started, had the same odds in Vegas as the Sabres of winning the Stanley Cup, about 500 to 1. A $10 bet, or $100 bet rather, was going to get you 5,000 on Montreal. What's the difference? Maybe a goalie, and maybe the odds makers were just really wrong. But the fact they had those odds, and Atlanta was, I think, 1,000 to 1 to win the NBA, and here they are in the conference finals. So, Sabres fan, there is hope. There is hope. Of course, there's been hope for 10 years, and
oh my God,
nothing has happened. But the Canadians are proof the underdogs sometimes do rise to the top.
When it comes to the Olympics this year, Sha'Carri Richardson will be the person I'll be watching the most. Not because of the hair, not because of the nails, not because she's one of the fastest runners basically in the world of track and field. It's because of what will happen in the moment. So for so many years, people have looked at Florence Griffith-Joyner, all these different athletes that have been the fastest people in the U.S., if not in the world, with Usain Bolt in Jamaica. But this is a moment that I think will be living on Instagram for getting everyone to watch the Tokyo Olympics. Sure, you can watch basketball with the USA team, probably getting another gold medal with all the stars they're going to have. Sure, you can watch some other sport or maybe somebody else that will bring in. It's Richardson's story that I'm interested more about. 5'1", went to LSU, has run for a number of years, one of the fastest in the world. And the comment she's going to make after she crosses the finish line will be very interesting. Hopefully they'll be on tape delay. But at any rate, she is going to be amazing to watch. The Instagram world has gravitated towards her. The whole sports world will be watching her. And I will be watching. I'm sure we'll be on primetime during the Olympics when it comes to that 100-yard dash. Richardson's the one I'm pulling for, win or lose. That is Unfinished Business. Kevin Oklobzija, thank you for the time as always.
Hey, great to be here.
Pat Duffy, I don't know. I'm not quite sure. Are you saying the Suns could be in the NBA Finals?
I mean, how could they not? As we tape this, yeah, it looks pretty good, but how could they not be? Hey, it's the cat. What's going on?
Yes!
Kevin's cat.
Sochi is back.
Sochi! Just when I mentioned the Olympics, who comes up with Sochi? I'm so sorry, Duffy. I didn't mean to cut you off, but Sochi's the star of the show.
Very
deserves it.
serendipitous right there.
Always great. Thank you, guys. That is the Rochester Press Box. Bill Buckle will be back next week. For everybody, I'm Tariq Spence. Have a great day. I love Sochi.